Oh, that's a shark and a half. And that's a moray eel. Yep, that's a moray. Now, I will tell you this, you don't normally see morays swimming about like this. They normally stay undercover. So... I wonder if this the implication here is that we're too deep for plant growth. If so, then we are very deep. But it doesn't really... Oh, no, we sort of don't have access to light down here. Maybe that's it. I was going to say, we're not deep enough for light to become so dim that plants can't grow. I don't think we are, at any rate. I forget what the maximum depth for green plants is in the oceans. But yeah, that's definitely a moray. And apparently I can't interact with it, so I don't get to identify the species. Why don't we have a sort of species identification system in this? That would be nice. Oh! Yeah, but you don't get to ride them. I must admit, I'm not massively fond of the let's ride the large animal thing. Still, those can give you quite a nasty bite. I think some of them might even be venomous. And if, well, based on the colour alone, you know, I'm tempted to think green moray, there is such a thing. It's, I think it's venomous, mildly, and it's about 10 feet long. These are certainly not small, but are certainly about as long as the diver. Maybe longer. I think that's the way I came in, isn't it? Yeah, they have kept the plants somewhat generic. Those are... they're not wrasse, are they? Let's see if I can get a closer look. They look a bit like wrasse. Yeah, that's what they look like. I don't know what those are, but this... I don't think this is particularly typical behavior for wrasse either. Or could they be blenny? Is this where I came in? No, it's not, is it? Okay, yeah. I think this is new. Oh, well, that seems to be an obvious place to head. You know, that looks a little... You know, after the game so far, okay, while you can probably question the depiction of various things, it's all been very much about nature. Which is nice. It's not, apart from these weird things I've got surrounding me, but this, I don't know. It's a little jarring. But I don't know what the purpose of... I actually don't know what the purpose of the game is. It's sort of exploration, I know. Please don't tell me they're going to do the ancient underwater civilization thing. Well, okay, maybe I'll like it. I was actually enjoying it more when we didn't have this sort of implication of ancient structures with weird glowing lights. That looks like a lava lamp. I'm sure it's not supposed to be that. Oh, yeah, you're supposed to go down there, aren't you? Don't think I want to do that just yet. Is there anything else down here? Let's have a little look at the bottom. If I can even get that deep. Which I can. Oh. That looks like shipwrecks. Those shipwrecks? I mean, they're not bits of something. Yeah, that's not doing anything for me down here. Now, if this has been down a long time, you would expect all that to be covered up with sand and mud. Unless there's a current running through here, which there doesn't seem to be. Yes, yes, I'm being nitpickety. So, here's a question. One of the most attractive beaches in the world are white sand beaches. Does anybody know where that white sand comes from? It is parrotfish poop. Yes, you heard me correctly. Parrotfish eat coral, and they basically crunch up the coral and to extract the coral polyps, which they digest, which leaves them with the undigestible bits, the skeleton of the coral, which they poop out in vast quantities, and that's how we get white sand beaches. So if you're lying on a white sand beach, you're resting on parrotfish poop. Yes way, Thivia. And they're called parrotfish because they look like they've got beaks. And that's what they use to tear apart coral. So, at a guess, I'm gonna have to go back and swim down the lighted tunnel. I'm just checking to see... Okay, I started streaming 44 minutes ago. I'm just making a mental note for convenient areas to split up. So, I'm just going to make a little note here. 44 minutes in. Because this is the first big sort of change we've got. So when I upload this tomorrow, this is where I'll cut off. And so I wonder if that is all comprised of what they call Chapter 1. I think it's split up into sort of 7 separate chapters. Alright, let's dive into the lava lamp. Oh, this is interesting. I am getting somewhat Journey vibes, which would make a sort of sense. Alright, so not so focused entirely on nature. Now we've got this underwater. Underwater? Am I underwater still? I mean, I suppose I am. I'm swimming. So what is this down here? Let's have a little investigate. They don't tell. I wonder if they... The obvious thing is head towards that floaty thing there. I'm going to go and have a look and see what happens over here. Now, this is actually interesting. I mean, obviously I can't swim into it, but, and this is again something you may not know, there are actually lakes underwater. And they look a lot like lakes, and they behave a lot like lakes, and they are made of water, but they're hypersaline. They are so salty they form ponds and lakes underwater. The density of hypersaline water is so great that it sinks and forms lakes, and those lakes have features that look a lot like lakes above ground. They have edges like water in a puddle. They are also extremely dangerous because fish up here trying to swim into a hypersaline pool of water, they can't. The salinity is so high, they can experience a sort of toxic shock which can kill them. And so, in principle, at the bottom of hypersaline underwater lakes, there would be the carcasses of animals which have essentially been preserved in the hypersalinity, and there are organisms which go down to try and scoop them up. There's I once saw a video, I think it was narrated by David Attenborough, and they actually captured image of an eel deliberately swimming into a hypersaline lake underwater and coming out, and obviously in considerable distress. I think it survived, but it was obviously in a lot of distress. So a hypersaline lake is on the one hand a death trap, and yet around the edge of the lake you will find vast colonies of tube worms, and they have their own distinct ecosystem, and they literally growing right up to the edge of the hypersaline lake. It's actually quite fascinating. I think it's a relatively recent discovery too. And you got to remember, we still haven't explored most of the ocean. More people have been on the moon than have visited Challenger Deep in the Marianas Trench, the deepest part of the ocean. Now, do I want to try and swim into that, or do I want to try and swim into that? Ooh. Decisions. Let's see what this does. That's a blob of something. I have no idea what that is supposed to represent. Oh, mantas. Giant manta ray. Okay. There's another link to Sky, I suppose. I'm not sure if I'm imagining a connection, because I know some of the developers of Journey went on to develop this. This isn't that game company. This is this isn't a giant game company production. This is Giant Squid, I think. Oh, so did it transport us? So I don't know. Did we get transported, or? I suppose I have to find out if I can catch a manta. Come here. Yes, you can. Manta ray, yeah. Oh, you can sort of steer it. Yeah. Oh, that reminds me what I was saying. Oh, that looks more like a hypersaline lake than previously now. I mean, apart from the blobs coming out of it, but that whole lake shore effect, yeah, that does make it look like a hypersaline lake. But I was saying, you know, when it comes to sort of nature programs, I have a profound dislike for the modern trend, which is interact with the wild and potentially dangerous animal. I don't like that at all, because I feel that it will encourage people to do the same when they really should. You should not try and play around with nature. Not in that way. You can get yourself in very serious trouble. So I did not like the Steve Irwins of this world. I don't like the Coyote Petersons. He's the guy who sees just how much pain he can suffer by being bitten and stung by things. I don't like that at all. I much prefer the David Attenborough style. Or I haven't seen some of his stuff lately, but I much preferred the hands-off documentary style rather than the interactive. When I found out that Steve Irwin had gotten himself killed by a stingray, and if you don't know the story, he was basically swimming far too close to stingray. I don't know if he was doing it for documentary or what, but one of the stingrays didn't like him being so close and stabbed him straight through the heart with the barbed appendage on its tail. And he died, I think, pretty much instantly. And I'm sorry, but that's what happens. That is an illustration of what can happen if you get hands-on and interactive with potentially dangerous creatures. And a lot of creatures can be potentially dangerous. I don't even like shark feeding excursions, you know, where you go out and you feed the sharks. Don't like that either. I think that is a profoundly bad idea. Because while technically you might actually be relatively safe, sharks are still potentially dangerous creatures. And if you get them used to showing up in a certain spot to be fed, I don't see how that ultimately is a good thing. I mean, I suppose in a way it helps diffuse the idea that sharks are these horrible, malevolent, evil creatures. Because they're not. You can thank the movie Jaws for that. But I don't like it. This oh, let's go interact with things. The same with swimming with dolphins. I probably would never do it. I disapprove in principle. Oh, never mind that dolphins can be really dangerous. Dolphins are not nice creatures. What they get up to, well, if I were to describe it and this was a monetized live stream, I would probably get demonetized if I explained what dolphins get up to. They're not nice. They really aren't. But it is interesting that you know, solitary dolphins can form quite interesting attachments to humans. And I suspect it's because dolphins by nature are not solitary, they're social animals. So if a dolphin becomes isolated and it's seeking some degree of sociality, is that a word? Picking on, getting into, we'll call them relationships with humans, makes a sort of sense for them. They are intelligent creatures who I believe can actually recognize themselves in mirrors. But I still don't like the whole swimming with dolphins thing. Keep hands off, watch them as they are. Don't try and make them become an entertainment source. Oh, okay. What have we got here? Oh. Yep, the whole mural on the walls thing. Does that look familiar to you, Thivia? Because that reminds me of Journey and Sky. Except that I think this obviously... I say this predates Sky. Yes, yes it does. Yes it does. But that is a sort of Journey influence. Look, they've even got... Do you remember from Journey in the murals where they have these kind of displays on the wall? Yeah, that's very familiar there. Diver looks like a cat with those ears. I know they're lights, but don't know what kind of jellyfish those are. Yes, yes, it is. It is quite pretty. Yeah, no, I don't know. I can't remember what they're called. I think they're based on, I want to say moon jellies, but I'm not sure. You know, if you go to aquariums, you will see sometimes these tanks filled with jellyfish that look a bit like this. I don't think they're particularly harmful to humans. I'm assuming we don't have is it Iriconja in here? If you haven't heard about Iriconja, there are these tiny, almost invisible jellyfish, absolutely lethal. And of course you find them in Australian waters. You get stung by one of those, I don't think there's an anti-venom, and yeah, they are profoundly dangerous. Made even more so by the fact that you can't see them. They are quite small, transparent, and yeah. Holy moly! I did not expect that. Oops. I think that was a tiger shark in the brief glimpse I got of it. Okay, now I'm scared to go down. I'm gonna go down. I mean, if this live stream ends with me being eaten by a tiger shark, that would be amusing if nothing else. Oh wow, we really are. I don't know how deep we are, but it's interesting. It's interesting nonetheless. Oh, can I not? Oh, yeah, okay, it doesn't like me going that far out. Yeah. I don't care. I want to have a look around. Ooh, what's this? What have we got? We got... That's a horseshoe crab there. And we have lobster. Well, apparently I was supposed to come down here. Leatherback sea turtle. Oh, yes. Biggest turtle currently in our oceans. Endangered too, as I remember. Swimming up in the water stream like this is a little bit... actually slightly nerve-wracking. What are these? One of the things interesting about the ocean is human beings can't see very far. So it's actually possible for there to be something outside of our view which is aware of us. Something like a shark, which can sense electrical impulses in the water, could be, yeah, circling just out of view and you would never know it. Okay, so was the purpose of the shark just to give me a jump scare? Okay, who wants to bet we're supposed to go through that? Ah, what's that? Oh, barracuda, I think. Is that barracuda? I think that's a barracuda, but I couldn't tell you which species. Probably don't want to get bitten by one of those. They have nasty teeth. Well, let's go up to the surface before I commit to going through. Still no land. I wonder how we ended up in the middle of the ocean like this. Where's our dive boat? I can't help but feel we are being really, in reality, this would be really quite reckless. I still want to know where the divers getting their oxygen from. They're not even wearing a dive belt. They ought to be wearing a dive belt to swim like this. Gives you neutral buoyancy so you don't have to constantly swim down. Alright. I guess we're going through here. So this is 64 minutes in. I'm just making a note again so that when I come to cutting this up, I might have different areas I can do.